Welcome. It is Mitch. I'm on YouTube. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button. The goal is 1,000 by the end of the Packers season. We're climbing our way towards it. Always appreciative of all the support. The Packers, quite frankly, slapped around the Detroit Lions on Sunday, 27-13 win. The touchdown for Detroit came in garbage time. We did this last year on Monday or Tuesday of every week following a game for the Packers, looking at the snap count totals and what stood out. And there were a couple of things certainly that stood out in the snap count department for Green Bay in the win over the Lions. It'd be hard to start somewhere else besides Micah Parsons, right? Because you knew he was going to be on a pitch count. You know, if Micah Parsons was at full go, if he had a full offseason where he was involved and he wasn't on the sideline like he was in Dallas before the trade to Green Bay, and he played 100% of the snaps, we probably wouldn't be mentioning it about Micah Parsons. Depending on where you look, he was on the field for 29 snaps, but the NFL counts snaps if there was a penalty that negated a play, so they had him down for 30. Regardless, Parsons was out there for right around 45% of the defensive snaps for Green Bay, and a lot of them came in garbage time in that fourth quarter. There was even kind of a part where I was wondering, like, why don't we take him out? It was 27-6 with like 4 minutes left when he got his sack for the day, which was awesome. I think I referenced it in the instant reaction video. It was like watching a cheetah in the wild just chase down its prey, and Goff looked like a wounded gazelle who didn't see Parsons tracking him down from behind as Goff was making his way out of the pocket and towards the nearest sideline. But 45% of the snaps for Parsons. I'd be curious to know, this game, week 2 for Green Bay is on a Thursday night against the Washington Commanders, and if it was on Sunday, if maybe we'd see even more of Parsons. But I wouldn't be surprised if when Thursday night's game comes and goes, if Parsons is playing around the same amount, depending on what the total is for the defensive snaps. I'm talking percentage-wise. If he plays around 40 to 45%, that's probably where I would expect it to be. Against Detroit, he had 3 quarterback pressures and 1 sack. Those 3 quarterback pressures turned into the sack, an interception by Evan Williams, and a pass completion by Detroit that went for -2 yards. So you want to talk about impact. The direct impact Micah Parsons had on this game, you could look at the 3 quarterback pressures and see that they resulted in a sack, an interception, and a -2 yard pass for Detroit. There's also some interesting secondary and tertiary impact things that Micah Parsons did in this game. To me, his sack, and I mentioned this on the instant reaction video if you didn't see it, 27-6 with 4 minutes left, he could have checked out of that rep. No one would have blamed him. Micah Parsons, blue chipper, superstar player. Goff had escaped the pocket. Parsons was basically on the left hash. Goff was all the way down on the right near sideline. But Parsons showed the motor and just kept going and going. And that was the word he used in his introductory press conference. He says he has one mode. It's always go. And he lived up to it on that sack. And it happened right in front of the Green Bay sideline. Van Ness and a few other players were right there on the sideline, jumping up and down when Parsons made the play. And I just believe it was a good teaching moment for the rest of these young guys. You have Barron Sorrell and Colin Oliver, who their job is going to be get after the quarterback whenever they're healthy, cleared to go. Colin Oliver, of course, missed all of the offseason, and Sorrell's got the knee injury going on. Should be back relatively soon, though. We'll see what his snap count totals look like once he's good to go. But those 2 young guys see a player of Micah Parsons' ability, someone on that tier of superstardom, and they see that in a blowout 4-minute game where at times, even in the NFL, teams won't ever admit it, but you can often just go through the motions at that point. Again, 3-possession game with 4 minutes left, and it's garbage time. Like, it is labeled garbage time. And yet Micah Parsons has his foot down on the accelerator. I think that sack for him served as an impact point for the rest of the young guys. Like, if this is what Micah Parsons is going to look like playing in garbage time, what's our excuse to not empty the tank? So I thought his impact was felt there. And the one thing I keep telling myself is if this is what this defense looked like, and it's not all because of Micah Parsons, but again, I talk about that word impact, and Parsons was on a pitch count, and his impact was still felt. And if this is what it was, him only playing 45% of the snaps, imagine what it's going to be like when he's playing 95 to 100% of the snaps. Just incredible stuff from Micah Parsons, and certainly a reason for Packer fans to talk about it and for Packer fans to feel pretty giddy about where things with this defense could be headed. Mitch, I'm on YouTube. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Always appreciative of all the support. Goal is 1,000. Takes 2 seconds to do. Doesn't cost you anything. Takes 2 seconds. Boom. Click the subscribe button. Always appreciative of all the support. Sticking with the defense. Packer snap count video. Inside linebacker. as expected and as hoped for, Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, 100% of the snaps. Neither of them missed a defensive snap for Jeff Hafley on Sunday. Health is wealth, and as long as those two have it, this should be the result every single week, right around there, 100% of the snaps. I would say no less than 95 for both of these guys. This is a duo that, and Quay Walker's in a contract year, and remember, Green Bay picked up the fifth-year option for Devontae Wyatt in the offseason, but didn't with Quay Walker. But Goody had said they want to get deals done long-term with Wyatt and Walker, and that was before the Micah Parsons trade. Money's going to be a little tight, so it'll be interesting to see, do they get something done with Quay Walker? Because I'm telling you, this duo, I believe, will work very, very well together. And we saw glimpses of it last year, but Edgerrin Cooper, wasn't playing 100% of the snaps as a rookie in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Not till late in the year. I think he logged one game where he played 100% of the snaps, but it was really that last month where he was on the field for 90% or more of the defensive snaps for Jeff Hafley, and you saw little glimpses of what this duo could look like if they're at full go and they're out there from start to finish. And we saw that on Sunday. Edgerrin Cooper was everywhere. He had 12 tackles, 8 of them were solo. It seemed like every time there was a tackle made, Edgerrin Cooper was in the vicinity of what was going on. Quay Walker, I believe, had 9 total tackles, 2 TFLs for the former first-round pick out of Georgia. The athleticism from these two at inside linebacker it's kind of unmatched, and it was on display Sunday. One other thing I'll note with the inside linebacker position, Isaiah McDuffie played 18 snaps to Tyron Hopper's 1 on defense. And I had said, I don't remember what video it was. It might have been the Packers 53-man roster video, but I had noted the summer that Tyron Hopper had, and it was eye-opening. Tyron Hopper looked the part this offseason. Training camp, preseason, took advantage of opportunities. I would not be surprised. You bring McDuffie back. I think it was a 2-year deal in the offseason, and he brings that veteran presence. You're certainly comfortable with McDuffie. He plays 18 snaps. Tyron Hopper plays 1 on Sunday. I would not be surprised if by year's end, if both guys are still healthy and out there and going at it on the field for Hafley's defense, if Hopper leapfrogs McDuffie in snaps played. I just there's something there. I think there's a good amount of potential with Tyron Hopper that you kind of want to peel the layers of that onion off, but you're not taking away from Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper to do so. That's a dynamic duo at inside linebacker for the Packers. But Tyron Hopper just 1 snap. McDuffie had 18. Wide receiver, always interesting, really, the last couple of years. Dobbs, Watson when he's healthy, Reed, Wicks when they're healthy, and at full go, what do the wide receiver numbers look like? It was, I guess, somewhat interesting in week 1. Dobbs took the cake. He was the leader in the clubhouse. 33 snaps. Doesn't sound like much. You have to remember Green Bay, they had that 2-play touchdown drive where it was Dobbs for 48 yards and then Reed on a 17-yard touchdown. The first drive was surgical. It was methodical of the game. They went down the field, ended in a Tucker Kraft touchdown. Detroit had a 9-minute drive in the first half that resulted in a field goal. When I tell you Romeo Dobbs played 33 snaps, you're probably thinking, wow, that doesn't sound like many. But when I tell you that it was 70% of the offensive snaps for the Packers, then you're like, okay, he was out there, 7 every 10. That makes sense. So we're going to talk percentages here because it paints a more accurate description of the totals for these guys. So, yeah, Romeo Dobbs was out there for 33 snaps, which was the most among the wide receiver group. Doesn't sound like much. It was 70%. I actually need to look. I'm pretty sure Green Bay, if I knew, 33 snaps, 70%, if my math was good, I'd be able to tell you in a second. But I'm pretty sure the offense only had 46 or 47 snaps or something like that. Yeah, 47 snaps total for Green Bay's offense. So 47 snaps, Dobbs was out there for 33 of them. Elsewhere at wide receiver, Matthew Golden came in second. 22 snaps, 47%. So Golden was out there for nearly half of the offensive plays. Wicks, 45%. Jaden Reed, 38%. Here's what I'll say. And Savion Williams, rookie, they got him involved on 1 play on a jet touch pass for his first reception. Jet touch pass counts as a pass attempt. Savion Williams, rookie out of TCU, 3rd-round pick, was out there for 3 snaps on offense. I'll note this. Of that 4, because Christian Watson's on the PUP list, Reed only played 38% of the snaps. And I'm wondering if this foot injury is going to be something that lingers. I wonder if he, like Parsons, was on a pitch count because of the foot injury, because typically you would expect Reed to play more than Wicks, maybe more than Golden to start the year, but Golden was out there for 47% of the snaps, Wicks 45, Reed 38. I would say the memorable passes that you remember are the touchdowns to Kraft and Reed, and then that 48-yard bomb to Romeo Doubs on that 2-play touchdown drive in the second quarter after Detroit had a field goal to cut it to a 10-3 lead for Green Bay. So Golden was out there more. He had his first reception. I think he finished the game with 2 for like 16 yards or something. Would like to see Golden out there more, but Green Bay is going to need to be out there, obviously, for more than just 47 snaps, and that was just the nature of this game. And, had I told you the Packers had 47 snaps on offense, you're probably thinking one of two things. Either this one was really ugly and Detroit controlled the game, the clock game, and just ran it down Green Bay's throats and had long, methodical drives and beat the tar out of Green Bay, or this was the result. You had an opening drive touchdown. You had another drive that was just 2 plays long, but it went for a 65-yard touchdown after a touchback, and that was the result for Green Bay. So wide receivers, Matthew Golden, second on the team, 47%. I think that is somewhat noteworthy. Him out-snapping Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed right from the get-go, although we don't know the severity of the Reed injury and how much that's going to linger throughout the season. Yeah, that was all I had for wide receivers. Because I said 18 snaps for Jaden Reed sounds really, really low, but grand scheme of things, when you note that Green Bay only had 47, it's not as bad. Sticking with the offensive side of things, and we'll go to the line. Another interesting position. Elton Jenkins, 100% of the snaps. Rasheed Walker, 100% at left tackle. So Zach Tom goes out with a hip injury in the second half, and we saw Darian Kinnard, who the Packers traded from Philadelphia late along in the process here, like right before the start of the season, and it was Kinnard who got the first nod at right tackle. I think logistically, the other option you could have tried out is Anthony Belton, the second-round rookie out of North Carolina State. And interestingly enough, in quote-unquote garbage time, Belton got 3 snaps for Kinnard to finish out the game. So Belton was out there for 3 snaps, made his official debut as a rookie. I don't know if you guys noticed the rookie patches, the debut patches the NFL had them wear. I don't remember that necessarily last year, but it might have been in place. I noticed it with baseball because they turned those rookie patches into cards with the patch included on a lot of them. And Paul Skeens of the Pittsburgh Pirates, I don't know if his was sold, but his was found, and everyone's talking about how much the card would be worth because it had the rookie patch attached to it. But Belton, anyways, he got real sidetracked there for a second. Belton played 3 snaps. Kinnard got the first nod at right tackle when Tom exited with an injury. Jordan Morgan played some right guard, played some left guard when Aaron Banks left late with an ankle injury. Those are 2 injuries to monitor. Obviously, you're talking Aaron Banks. That's your Aaron Banks and Zach Tom are the ones you just forked money over to in the offseason up front. Elton Jenkins wanted to work something out before he moved from left guard to center. It didn't happen. Rasheed Walker and Sean Ryan are the 2 guys that are playing out a contract year. They're both starting, right? Rasheed Walker's the blindside protector of Jordan Love, and Sean Ryan's your starting right guard. Those 2 are in the last year of their rookie deals this year. The money this year went to Aaron Banks in free agency. They backed up a Brinks truck, and then Zach Tom got a well-deserved extension from the Packers, so he wouldn't enter a contract year like Walker and Ryan are doing. And both those guys exited early with injuries, and that has to be circled on a week where you have a quick turnaround. I'm recording this on Monday. It'll be published Monday, so not sure when you will watch this, but haven't seen any press conferences as I'm recording this to hear LaFleur talk about the severity of those injuries. But when you have a quick turnaround week and you're playing on a Thursday night and it's already Monday and you just played yesterday and Zach Tom's dealing with some sort of hip injury and Aaron Banks is dealing with some sort of ankle injury, it puts a little doubt or casts a little doubt on their availability for Thursday night. Good thing is maybe you trust that depth. I think it was partially put into question at the end of the offseason. And Jacob Monk's starting on the IR designated to return, and we know Glover's gone for the year. And how much do you trust Anthony Belton? And yes, you used a second-round pick on him, but pretty raw talent. Remember the game against Indianapolis where he just absolutely paved a hole for a touchdown run against the Colts in the preseason, but he also had, 4 or 5 penalties in the first half of that game. So there's kind of a balancing act you have to do, and Kinnard got the first nod when Tom exited. It'll be interesting to see how that develops throughout the week with those 2 injuries to Banks and Tom. I will note on Sunday, your eyes told it to you as much as my eyes told it to me. The pass protection against Detroit was phenomenal. Josh Jacobs struggled in the first half. Detroit's defense is good. It is. 6 carries, 8 yards in the first half for Josh Jacobs, and then he came on in the second half. He had I think it was 13 for 58 in the second half, totes and then yards, and he had the touchdown run that really hammered home the final nail in the coffin for Green Bay to make it a 3-possession game late. Pass protection was top tier for Green Bay across the board, even dealing with 2 hiccups in terms of injuries to your two highest paid offensive linemen in Zach Tom and Aaron Banks. Pass pro was great against a feisty Detroit front that was welcoming back Aiden Hutchinson for the season opener after he missed much of last season. Last group I want to look at, and it's status quo. Cornerback, because Nate Hobbs was out, and I was just interested to see. I was convinced, and I was wrong, coming out of training camp of the preseason. I was convinced that either Corey Ballantyne or Kalen King would make the final 53-man roster. I thought King had deserved a spot, even though it's a bit repetitive because he, features as a slot, and you have Javon Bullard there, and you could also, if you need be, have Keyshawn Nixon and or Nate Hobbs as options to play slot as well. But I thought Kalen King had earned a spot. I thought Corey Ballantyne's veteran presence and the fact that it was just a couple years ago when Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes went out for long periods of time, and you're starting two corners for quite a few weeks, were a rookie 7th-rounder in Carrington Valentine and the veteran Corey Ballantyne, and they held things down pretty well. So I was convinced at least one. I had both of them making the final roster. Neither of them did. And with Nate Hobbs being inactive for week 1, I was curious. Is Micah Robinson, who was elevated before the game to the active roster from the practice squad, is he going to get some run? Is Kamal Haddon, who made the team, is he going to get some run? Bo Melton. Bo Melton, who's transitioning from wide receiver to corner. Do you really trust him? You're one more injury away from Bo Melton having to play meaningful cornerback snaps, and I love me some Bo Melton, but do you trust him in that role right now? So all those questions were swirling in my mind. Thankfully, Green Bay didn't have to answer any of them because status quo at cornerback. Carrington Valentine, folks, 100% of the snaps played. Keyshawn Nixon, 100% of the snaps played. Bo Melton, Kamal Haddon, Micah Robinson, the 7th-round pick out of Tulane, combined whopping 0 snaps played on defense. Bo played plenty of special teams. Haddon was sprinkled in for 2 snaps on teams for Rich Bisaccia's group as well. So I keep reminding myself of that too. I thought the defense set the tone. The defense was phenomenal. The defense was dominant, and dominant in a way that not too many instances in recent years, regardless of the regime. Jeff Hafley's in his 2nd year. It was Joe Barry before that. We all remember the Dom Capers days way back when, right? But regardless of the regime, I just, and we had Mike Pettin too, not too many performances as commanding from the defense against an offense like that. Because like last year, was it Sunday night or Monday Night Football? Didn't the Packers, they blanked the Saints? I'll have to look it up. I don't know if the Saints got like a late field goal, but it was like, no offense, it was Spencer Rattler and a Saints offense and a Saints team that was checked out completely. An offense that was pitiful. Olave was out. Kamara, was struggling, and the Packers dominated. Yeah, 34-0. 2 days before Christmas last year, the Packers beat the Saints. And so you can look at that and be like, that was a dominant performance. They shut out. You don't see shutouts in the NFL too often anymore. And Green Bay shut out New Orleans. But to see a dominant performance like we saw on Sunday against an offense like that, and I know they're replacing Ben Johnson, but they still have Jared Goff. They still have Jahmyr Gibbs. They still have David Montgomery. They still have Sam Laporta. They still have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They still have Jameson Williams. That rookie Tesla made the incredible touchdown catch. To see that commanding of a performance against an offense, cut from that cloth, incredibly impressive. And there aren't too many instances of it. There are some, but not in recent years. And to remind myself that they did that with Micah Parsons on a pitch count and without Nate Hobbs. You talk about who were the big free agents brought in for Green Bay this offseason. It was Aaron Banks at left guard, and it was Nate Hobbs at cornerback coming over from Las Vegas. And to think that Parsons played 45% of the snaps and Hobbs wasn't out there and the defense looked that damn good, yeah, pretty optimistic going forward. One of the ideas I had too is I'm a big Carrington Valentine fan. I am. Physicality, his size, he doesn't back down from a challenge. I thought he mistimed his jump on that touchdown catch by Tesla by like a half second, but then again, it was an insane catch by the rookie wide receiver for Detroit. But I had an idea throughout the offseason. I'm sure many of you did. I was like, why not slide Hobbs or Nixon into the slot so Carrington can play starter snaps on the outside? Because once Hobbs comes back, whether that's this Thursday or in week 3 against Cleveland or week 4 against Dallas, if things go how we think they will, and that's Nixon and Hobbs on the outside and Javon Bullard in the slot, Valentine will be out there, certainly, in some capacity, but not at a full-time level. And so I had the idea, as many did, obviously, put Hobbs or Nixon in the slot because I was that confident about Carrington Valentine on the outside. Well, I'm watching Javon Bullard fly around and pinball around the field on Sunday and make a beautiful open field tackle on Gibbs. I'm watching him make one play after another, and he looks like a missile out there, I think is how I described it on Sunday. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I love Carrington Valentine, but if you put Nixon or Hobbs in the slot when Hobbs returns, that means less run for Bullard. So, again, it's just such a good problem to have for Jeff Hafley. Like, there's pit bulls, there's Rottweilers on this defense. And if you thought there was some jaw on yesterday, Xavier McKinney had that BS taunting call when there was, trash talk going on start to finish by both sides, especially Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown early. And I thought the McKinney flag was laughable. But if you thought, the Packers were playing with a swag and an edge yesterday or on Sunday, depending on when you watch this video, I'm telling you, like, watching training camp when Nate Hobbs was out there, you're going to be really, really glad Nate Hobbs is on this team and not the team you're going up against. That dude is an irritant. He is the guy that I'm not a Milwaukee Bucks fan. You can probably tell by the background I have of Madison Square Garden and the Knicks shirts and hats I wear of what team I cheer for in the NBA. But for a Milwaukee Bucks fan perspective, a recent one, you remember like Patrick Beverley a couple years ago, veteran guard. He was the guy that if he's on your team, you love Patrick Beverley. If you're playing against him, he's probably the most hated player on the other team. Nate Hobbs, I think, could have that role with the Packers because he's not going to back down from a challenge. He's going to talk trash, start to finish. And he brings all of that to the table. A guy that I'm telling you, Packer fans, whenever he comes back, it could be Thursday, it could be week 3, you're going to see stuff where you're like, man, I'm just glad he's on our side. Because I saw some of that stuff unravel in training camp when I was in attendance. But cornerback, status quo. They didn't have to answer any of those questions about next man up. Is Bo Melton going to get any run? Kamal Haddon or the rookie Micah Robinson? They all played 0 snaps on defense. Carrington Valentine, 100%. Keyshawn Nixon, 100% of the snaps. Let me know what stands out to you guys and gals. Always appreciative of all the support. Please click the subscribe button, and we'll be back probably on Tuesday. Again, depending on when you watch this, but we'll have a final thought video coming out relatively soon because it's a Thursday night matchup in week 2 for the Commanders and Packers. We'll see you then.